Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Row House Presents. We know that a lot of you have been home watching movies recently, and there are a lot of streaming services and movies to rent and watch out there. So how do you decide and, what's worth watching? And since we're not watching things in the theater right now, we thought we would help you sort through all of that. And so today we're going to start with just 4 films. I am Delana. I'm a programmer here, and
I'm Brian Mendelson. I'm also a programmer at Row House Cinema.
Come on now. Yeah, but we're going to start off with Thelma and Louise, the 1991 classic buddy film. I don't know if I would call it a comedy, although it's been billed as that typically, maybe more of a dramedy. The film stars Susan Sarandon, Gina Davis, a very young Brad Pitt, and Harvey Keitel, and it was also directed by the great Ridley Scott. But don't worry, this is nothing like Alien. This is about 2 women going on a wild crime spree after one of them is the victim in a crime, and they end up killing a man because of it.
I'll have a wild turkey straight up and a Coke back, please.
Thelma!
Oh, what? Tell me something. Is this my vacation or isn't it? I mean, God, you're as bad as Darrow.
All right, hey, just calm down. We're just having a little fun, that's all.
Looks like you got a real fucked up idea of fun.
Drive, please! Drive! Drive the car! Go! Go! Go, 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 go!
You robbed the store? You robbed the goddamn store?
So I like this film. I thought it was a good road trip film where it was very character driven. The 2 characters, Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon, really did a great job of playing their roles well, of being in character, and the dialogue was excellent. This is the first time I've seen Gina Davis play a role where she didn't feel like a fish out of water. And I like Gina Davis, but I think this was the perfect role for her. I felt like you had to ignore the plot. The plot was just a device to get things happening to the women. I mean, should we talk about the last scene?
If you somehow don't know the ending, you can skip forward if you would like.
Yeah, but this is a movie where I've never seen before, but I've heard about. I know the ending.
Right.
I knew it starred Brad Pitt, and I knew that the ending happened where they miraculously finished their journey, and it was a bit of a letdown.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. I liked it, but maybe it's just the way they filmed it. I don't know what it was.
There was too much decision making in the process. I think it took too long. I think the pacing of that ending is what kind of hurts it, is that it's not a quick, it feels like that's something that should be a decision that was not thought through, and it feels like they kind of sit there and think about it for a second, which I think does kind of pull away from some of that.
Do you think they were afraid of that ending?
Maybe. I feel like they had to have come up with multiple endings, because I feel like that might have been an ending that they would have to fight for. Yeah,
because you wanted them to succeed. You want them to escape, and because you like them.
I don't know. I thought it was more I thought it was the most hopeful ending that they. Well, actually,
you and I have different definitions of hope.
It's a pretty dark film once you really get down to it. But yeah, no, I agree. Well, the thing is, I had always heard of this film as a buddy comedy, and pretty much right from the outset, it was not as funny as and I don't mean that as a bad thing about the film. I just mean that its topics are more serious than I expected it to be.
The dialogue is very on point for today. I mean, that movie. This movie came out 20 years ago.
Relevant. Yeah. They want it to be an inversion of sort of the buddy comedy, but I think just because they are women existing in the areas that they are, it ends up being more serious than that. But they do find ways. I think that Brad Pitt is in there partially to kind of lighten things up, just because he's there to be the hot guy. It's like in buddy comedies there's usually a girl that's just there to be hot, and so I'm totally fine with Brad Pitt being that, because because his character in the story is kind of I don't really care like where it goes
Yeah.
with him or anything, but
I mean, he's a very attractive man.
right, yeah.
But I do think that Gina Davis and Brad Pitt's relationship was a little bit, stereotypical in that that transformed her. Like there's Brad Pitt and post Brad Pitt Gina Davis.
Oh, yeah.
And so like she became a very different character after the film, almost extreme transformation, or after their encounter.
Yeah. So I think it really falls in the same category as, the Raising Arizonas, the Natural Born Killers, that sort of thing. And so I think that just sort of heightened sense of everything just has to be accepted. Like you can't go into this thinking that it's going to be either gritty and realistic or just like funny and stupid. It's kind of,
Yeah, it's a road trip movie where they're trying to find themselves,
Right.
and that's really what it's about,
Yeah.
it seems like.
Yeah, definitely.
So would you recommend this?
If you're looking for something that's like, fast-paced and, more exciting and definitely, character-driven and just classic. I mean, so many other things allude to this and especially allude to that ending. And so once you see this, I feel like if you didn't already know about that ending, then you'll definitely see it pop up in a lot more places.
With Thelma Louise, I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, no, I do too. Oh my God, thank God we're not doing number ratings. I can't give things. Now, Thelma & Louise is available to stream so many different places. You can stream it for free at YouTube, Vudu, Tubi, Pluto, or Roku.
Our second film we're going to talk about today is Manos, which came out in 2019. It's directed by Alejandro Landis, and it was filmed in Colombia. Basically, it starts off in a mountaintop where these kids, back in the day when Colombia had a kidnapping issue, these were the guys who would be kidnapping. The kids' job was to guard a prisoner of war.
See, I thought this took place in the future in a fake, like in a situation that doesn't exist.
It shouldn't
how I
exist.
interpret it.
It shouldn't exist. Yeah, so then we follow these kids from the Andes Mountains to the Amazon region of Colombia, where the doctor tries to escape, who's the prisoner, and then eventually there's a conclusion. We won't tell you what happens, but you're gonna have to watch the movie. So here's some clips from that film.
Premise really interested me, and while I think that overall it was interesting, it definitely is long, slow burn to chew on. That's for sure. But I think that there are moments that make it rewarding, and I would definitely, describe it as a sort of postmodern Lord of the Flies, like, that meets like a Don DeLillo like novel or something, and it definitely. It's a film that, I think should be appreciated not for its parts, but like the whole. I think that if you try to pick and figure out everything that's going on and piece every single detail out, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Because like if we can give a basic plot of the film, but this is definitely not a plot-based movie.
It's kind of like a day in a life, sort of.
Right. It drops you down into the situation and does not give you any exposition, no backstory. You're sort of left on your own, which is why, that was a little frustrating
for me, actually. The first act, I was frustrated, trying to figure out what's going on.
Visually, it's really stunning. I mean, I think that overall there are, I couldn't tell you how it got from point A to point B, that's for sure, but there are images specifically that stick in my mind afterwards. So it's definitely tone, atmosphere, visuals, and just like more like raw emotion than specifics, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree that the production design is great in this film. I'm less excited about the first half, but the second half, when they're in the Amazon region, I was engaged by being in that world. If I felt like I was one of the kids. What's interesting about this film is except for one, none of the kids are actors. They were all local kids that were hired, and I liked that. Those are the characters I liked the most. The professional actors in this are the ones that really didn't work for me. The Moises, who plays Bigfoot, who was the most one-dimensional character in the entire film.
I mean, it's funny because see them sort of as a collective as a character more than even any individual character, just because it is sort of like about all them. But yeah, I mean, obviously he is sort of presented to us as a main character, but you know, we were looking up the actors and everything in this film, and I had no idea that Moises kid is Rico from Hannah Montana.
I know, right?
That's, I mean, definitely a more interesting post-Disney career than most.
They could have easily cut 20 minutes out of this film.
I feel that way with most films, honestly.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, they absolutely could have shortened it, I think. I would not just throw this on as like a nice Friday night watch or something, but like if you want to see something that's like new and different and visually gorgeous and sort of, you know, dreamlike, like if you like David Lynch or if you like other things, you know, it's definitely not as directly surreal as that, I guess. But I'm just saying, like, if you are okay with things not totally making sense and you like the slow burn kind of art film, definitely recommend it.
For me, other than the production design, I cannot recommend this film. I don't think it is worth your time. Monos is available online through Hulu, through a subscription, or you could purchase it through renting.
So next we're going to talk about another classic. In this case, I mean, I had never heard of it before, but this is Brian's classic. No, it's called The Natural. It's from 1984, directed by Barry Levinson. It stars Robert Redford, Glenn Close, Robert Duvall, and what was her name?
Oh, Kim Basinger.
Kim Basinger. All right, sorry, you know. Robert Redford plays a young, very gifted baseball player named Roy Hobbs, who gets the chance to try out for the Cubs. And as he's traveling there with his manager, he ends up running into one of the most popular and successful Cubs players. And when Roy Hobbs goes to try out for the Cubs, he ends up being shot by a woman who stalks baseball players. And that effectively ends his career for 16 years. But after that, things pick up and we move on from there. So we'll watch a few clips from that first.
Throw it in there, plowboy. You don't get no ladder.
All right, Roy, chuck it down his whammy. Come on, boy. All right, chuck it down here.
Close your trap room.
Burn it by him. Give him a shave with it.
Strike one.
Wait.
Oh, what do you know? That's going to cost me a pretty penny. Oh, how's that?
Well, I bet against you today.
You bet against the Knights?
No, just against you, kid.
Don't you know how I hate losing to the Pirates?
Please tell me why you, I assume, love this film so much.
Wow, clearly you are not a big fan of this movie. So this is one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. It's the when I hear the music when he's up to bat, it always just makes me a little teary-eyed. And I think this movie holds up really well. I love baseball movies, and to me, it's a movie where it is baseball focused, but the plot is really well done for this kind of movie. And this is a feel-good movie, and it's okay to have a feel-good movie. The setup is great. You really like Robert Redford right off the bat. Without, he doesn't say much actually through the whole film, and he's just Robert Redford. He is very human. He's not this super-powered, gifted baseball player where nothing could go wrong. He makes mistakes in this movie. He pays the consequences for those mistakes. And then there's the Glenn Close character that I think is a little overdone. I think they know it. Barry Levinson, when he was filming this, he's going through a slump, and she's in the stand. She stands up. Her hat glows like a halo around her. It's a little too perfect, and making out to this little angel. It's his angel apparently, and changes everything around for him. This is a movie that live-action Disney movies want to be. And for the feel-good genre, I think this is one of the best.
See, when I think of feel-good movie, I think of like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, so that's where our
That's comedy, but
yeah.
that's which is
well, that's still feel good.
that's true.
I don't know. I just didn't have any, you know, real connection to it. And it's so funny because when you say like, oh, the music, the second I heard it, like, you know, it hits that nostalgic, like the second I heard that music, my eyes just rolled into the back of my head. I was just like, oh my God, like, you know, and I get it. Like, this movie is definitely not for me. Like, this is not who, I am not who this movie was made for.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying it is not anything that interests me personally.
So were you like annoyed watching it, or
I
like,
mean, kind of, because
Yeah.
when the slow-mo happens, every time he like is about to do a really good hit or do a really good
those
pitch,
are amazing hits, by the way.
it's just right. And you say like that he's not superhuman, but I felt that he was too like powerful, too. So, like,
Yeah.
I know he messes up and everything, and there are like those elements of it, and like it is pretty like funny, you know, when he knocks out the lights and everything. Oh my God, the clock shot was my favorite.
Yeah.
That was the best part. And I will say that setup was good. Like, my mouth dropped as soon as, like, you know, when that first setup kind of happened. But they also just feel like kind of dated movie. Like, I feel like they definitely date.
Do you feel like this
themselves.
movie was dated?
I feel like I could definitely tell it was made in the 80s, like, but I think that was mainly the score, the choices for some of the lighting choices, like with Glenn Close, like some of the like slow-mo, like just some of those extra added bits where it was just like those parts were the things that made me the most annoyed. It wasn't like the story itself. It was just like the little like embellishments that were just like, all right, you're an 80s director trying to be all like, this is amazing, but it's like, you know, and I think the slow-mo would have been better utilized if it had happened like once or twice and not like every time. Like,
Well, if you're looking for a good feel-good movie, I would definitely recommend this movie, even no matter who you are. So
I probably wouldn't recommend it overall. I mean, it just, like I said, not my thing. The Natural is available for free on Crackle and IMDb TV, or you can watch it with your Netflix subscription.
Our next film is The Wild Goose Lake, which is a brand new release from director Yinan Diao. It is a film noir that is set in this very rough blue-collar part of Wuhan, China, Pittsburgh's sister city, made famous recently because of that.
Had no idea.
We get immersed into this main character's story after he accidentally kills a cop, and he has to go on the run. He chooses to not leave the town. He chooses to stay and tries to figure out a way of getting the reward money that's on his head given to his wife to take care of her, a wife he hasn't seen in many years. Let's go ahead and watch a clip from the movie.
大家注意一下子啊，3000块钱以上的高档摩托车都可以转 GPS。他这么就是在找跟踪器，一般跟踪器的装在车座板底下，在公共场所尽量装在系鞋带子，因为这个比趴到地下找要隐蔽一些。
Out of the 4 films we watched, this is definitely my favorite of all of them. I think that the neo-noir genre, I mean, it's got the, you know, the gritty neon lighting that you see in a lot of them now. Like, so many shots are just awash in these beautiful pinks and blues, and you know, so the lighting, it's actually very like Blade Runner 2049. Like, there's something sort of, even though it's just this like gritty city, there's something, you know, there's like that added layer to it, you know, sort of. Maybe, yeah, like you'd see in that, or Moonlight, or, you know, just adding this layer to the reality. You know, although it is a slow burn, the pacing is really nice because those moments that are a little more drawn out, a little more slow, they always lead to these moments of like accented, choreographed, really sort of really over the top kind of violence and things like that. And so I think that, I mean, the choreographed action in this film, although there was less of it than I was expecting. I mean, there was still plenty, but there was definitely, it was less of like a action. It was definitely a noir film with action.
It was not an action film in any, by modern standards.
No, but the moments of action are really just they've got this like crispness to it. I mean, his movement as like whenever he fights has got this, it's just got a really nice look to it. You know, so it kind of calls back to old noir, but also, I don't know, there's like definitely some older action films that I feel like it kind of harkens back to as well. But I would just say, like, aesthetically, I was in, like, even though, you know, it's like the plot is kind of neither here nor there. I think that overall, as an experience, it was really thrilling and beautiful to see, and the fact that it's in Wuhan and about these sort of class and social kind of divisions as well. So it feels very relevant too. So definitely.
Yeah, I wish that there was more plot in this, honestly. I think that the production design of this was by one of the best movies I've seen recently. I've never seen a place that they've created before in a movie or in real life.
Yeah.
And I really love that. Even in the first act, when, you know, he's going to the hotel, and he goes down to the basement of the hotel, and then there's this meeting of gangsters where it's like an educational class on how to steal a motorcycle bike. Even that whole scene, the way they set that up, and then, you know, with the cops having a very similar meeting, it felt very unusual for a film, and I liked where it went with that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you bring up those moments about the mobsters and the cops, because actually that part made me think so much of Fritz Lang's M. These parallel stories of both the mobsters and cops actually working in very sort of similar ways, but in different spheres in these sort of parallel stories, felt so similar to that. So
yeah, and I did feel the violence was pretty gruesome, and it will turn some people off, but I don't think that, I thought it was beautiful in a way too.
Yeah, it's so stylized. I think that, like, I mean, because they use like blood and things like that is used definitely as like an artistic splatter of color.
Artistic splatter of color.
Yeah, it's not blood. It's like filling out the image, you know, like it really. And I mean, again, sort of like Manos, it's like I could not tell you the plot of this film. I mean, maybe, you know.
But I think the setup was so good that there should have been more of a plot. Like, it kind of made me mad. I love this film, but I really thought they could have done better with a better story.
No, I know. It could have been clearer.
Yeah, I would recommend this film, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be the best film of the year, but I think it's definitely a film that everyone needs to watch.
Yeah. For the pacing and those moments of really, like, you know, it kind of goes in these waves of fast, slow kind of motion, and I think that was, it's got a really nice sort of motion to it. So I think that definitely recommend it.
The Wild Goose Lake is available only online at Row House Online, which is at rowhousecinema.com.
So if you want to discuss these films or let us know what you think, you can go ahead and comment. And if you want to discuss with hundreds of other film lovers, you can join our film club, which is still very much active during these times. Yeah, join us if you want. You can go to rowhousefilmclub.com.
And we'll see you soon at Row House Cinema, whenever that may be. But in the meantime, enjoy watching movies at home.